We are here with Robert Erickson with Grass Valley. How are you doing today?
It is absolutely fantastic to be out here with humans, people, interacting, seeing things.
I know.
It's like half of me just wants to walk up to somebody and I think I shake hand. I don't know how this works, but you know what? It's great to be out.
Yeah, it's like you're some kind of caveman that's been thawed out and brought back into society. It's been totally strange.
It's fantastic, and the fact that it's in Texas and it's TAB is probably one of the best venues we can do it because it's a good-sized conference. There's really good people here. It's a great chance to show off technology. A lot of the vendors who haven't done trade shows in a year and a half are showing technology that they would normally never show at TAB. Normally we would hold this off for NAB or we'd hold it off for IBC. But, us and some other vendors are showing some new tech that normally isn't shown here. So I think it's good for the people in Texas. I think it's great for TAB. So I think it's a good opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of which, tell us a little bit about some of the new technology coming out from Grass Valley, one of the literal industry leaders in broadcast technology.
Hey, thank you for the compliment.
Absolutely.
I'll gladly take that. Speaking of industry leaders, though, this is the next step in broadcast technology. So what we're showing here is part of the Grass Valley Media Universe. It's called GVM. And it's the concept of taking traditional technologies. When you think of Grass Valley, you think of a hardware switcher. Or when you think of Grass Valley, you think of hardware processing. You think of the ability to do the entire workflows of your entire TV studio is what Grass Valley does. So what we've done and what we're showing here is GVM, where we've taken all the functions of traditional hardware and we've converted them into CPU and GPU resources. So this entire show you're seeing right here, between our audio console we have over here running on the left, we have the multiviewer, and we even have a switcher running right here. All of this is running in Amazon AWS in Portland, of all places.
Wow.
So you see the big traditional switcher panel? When people think of Grass Valley, they think of the panel. They know how to use the panel. That's how you interface with the switcher. Except for the switcher doesn't exist. It literally is an AWS instance running in Portland. So I've got 32 inputs to the switcher, 16 outputs to the switcher. I've got the keyers that everybody's used to. Everything everybody's used to doing on a switcher, working the exact same way they expect, just running in AWS.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And now, granted, even the fact that you have the quality going on of video flow at a convention with just a local internet connection, that's pretty incredible.
That is actually where some of the secret sauce is anybody can get video from point A to point B.
Sure.
But it's how do you get it in the lowest delay possible? Because if you're on a switcher, if I poke a button and on the switcher and I've got to wait a second or two for my really high compression ratio compression and all this kind of stuff to hit, well, it's not usable. So a lot of our secret sauce, a lot of the innovation we brought to this is the fact that I can use literally a trade show wired internet wild feed. I'm not using an MPLS. I'm not using a tunnel. This is just a straight wild feed, and I'm able to do an entire production with extremely low delay. Is part of the revolutionary technology, because the whole goal is to make this work and seem and look like the switchers in the same room.
Yeah.
When the reality is it's a piece of software instantiated somewhere in the world that nobody cares about.
Yeah, and it's been pretty incredible over the last couple of years to really see the network capabilities take off in the industry, to see the capabilities of things like this happen. What kind of latency are you talking about, even on a network like what you're dealing with right now?
I'm just talking a few hundred milliseconds, like 100 milliseconds.
Wow.
We're not talking 500 milliseconds, half-second delay. I know we're on video, so I don't know if we can do a tight shot on that or not.
Sure.
But I can actually just show you. So I got my preset program.
Wow.
100 milliseconds, maybe 150 milliseconds.
If even. That was pretty seamless switching.
And that's the whole idea. And the magic, the secret sauce on this is my switchers here, all of my sources are coming in from around the world. My sources are from SRT sources in Los Angeles. And, H.264 RTMP streams in Montreal, and I got a server here in Portland. I'm pulling in sources from all around the world, switching them in Portland and sending that feedback. If you notice, that's a Chrome browser. Mm-hmm. This isn't a heavyweight multiviewer. This isn't anything. This is all done in software in Portland in the AWS cloud. So you're seeing these kind of latency, these kind of very low latency, very deterministic switches. That's the secret sauce. And so when you talk about Grass Valley innovating, moving forward, this is what we're bringing to the table. This is something nobody else is doing right now.
Well, and even the fact of, like you were saying, your sources coming from various networks across the globe,
including this live view pack we have here.
Yeah, that's absolutely phenomenal to know that with almost no latency, you can be switching cameras from all over the globe.
Yep.
And all anybody needs is a standard internet connection. They don't need fiber optic. They don't need any kind of crazy pipeline or dedicated pipeline.
I mean, if you want to do a crazy dedicated pipeline,
go for it.
You can. We can get the latency even a little bit lower.
Yeah.
But most modern workflows now is over wild internet connections. Be it a live view pack going over bonded cellular, be it a cable modem, be it whatever this hotel has.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
That's a good way to put that. Whatever this hotel has, because you never ever know.
No.
It's pretty rare, and even sometimes the specs that you get from a location. I deal in the world of corporate AV. This is what I'm normally doing. Is the events like what you're attending. And so frequently you get specs from house and you show up and you're like, well, these aren't the specs at all. This may have been what it was when it was built, but it ain't what it is now.
So our backup for here, which we actually tested, is an AT&T hotspot.
Yeah.
I've got pretty decent AT&T coverage here. This isn't an ad for AT&T, it's just what I'm using. So we actually were testing failovers. The hotel internet went down, our router automatically switched over to the AT&T hotspot, and we're still able to pull the production off.
Wow. And what was your latency when you went to hotspot?
It jumped up a little bit because our coders had to we had to squeeze it a little bit more. So I went I'm using about a 10 meg constant stream here. I had to bring it down to a 5 meg constant stream, which means I had to do a little more compression on it.
Sure.
So it went up by like maybe 30 milliseconds. Not very much.
Not an incredible impact at all to functionality.
Nope.
So now, as far as station-wise and mobile-wise, what is somebody looking at price point to be able to get into a system like this?
Straight OpEx model. That's the best part. So whatever hardware you need to buy to get the signal into the software environment is your fixed cost. Everything else is a monthly OpEx cost. Wow. So if you want to, if you think about a production switcher, for example, I'm just using this as an example, but you think about a production switcher, somebody buys a switcher, they produce maybe 2 hours a day, maybe a news station 8 hours a day of content.
Sure.
The rest of the time the switcher sits in the rack using power and doing nothing.
I've got 2 of them sitting in a box at home.
So you absolutely get that.
Yeah.
So the whole model on this, the commercial model on this is, you know what? You need that switcher for 30 minutes, you need that switcher for 2 hours or 8 hours. You spin it up, you use it for what it is. When you're done, you shut the whole thing down, and it doesn't cost you a dime when it's shut down.
Yeah.
And so it's a straight OpEx model. It's a pay as you use, pay as you go model. You can, it's monthly or however, there's all sorts of different ways we can do it. But it's moving things into a commercial model where you can say, I'm going to make this much money doing this production, but I know what my costs are to do the production, so you can kind of set your business model accordingly.
So you could do all of this in a virtual environment without even including a console, is what you're
100%.
saying.
So we have the console here because so many people know and love the Grass Valley interface.
You can't not love a Grass Valley.
It's here, but if I just click over to this tab, there's my entire switcher and software. So if somebody doesn't want to have the console, if they don't want to pay for this, if they want to be able to have all the power of this console and the software interface.
And I'm sure they could go through and macros program any USB controller in the world that they wanted to it, all kinds of stuff. So you could use your familiar mixer that you already have, what have you.
It's actually, I'm really glad you brought that up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You've never seen this product, but this audio console I showed you, we've got a couple of hundred inputs and quite a few outputs. When we did this audio console, the first thing people said is, I want a tactile interface. I want to be able to move a slider.
Got to be able to move a fader and EQ stuff with my fingers.
So, but how do you do that when the console is sitting in software in AWS or in Azure? So we actually wrote a MIDI interface. So if you have a traditional, I don't care if it's just a little Mackie or a Behringer.
Any USB controllable interface.
Anything MIDI controllable.
Yeah. Ooh, even better.
Yeah, anything that's got a MIDI control. So we can actually make it so when I turn a fader up on here, MIDI control, you'll see the fader come up on the console. You do the fader there, the fader
That's
will come
great.
up on here.
Yeah, it'll run motorized faders, everything.
So we give a tactile interface to something running in the cloud, and that's one of the differentiators. Is how you got to focus on the user interface. When an operator sits down in front of an audio console, does he care that the audio console is running a bunch of CPU and FPGA or CPU and GPU or DSP? They don't care.
Yeah.
They know that when they sit down in the interface and they pot up something and they turn down the mix minus and they set their mixes, that it just bloody works.
Yep.
And that is our goal. We've focused on the UI and abstracted the processing, everything out of the background.
And that's just it. You made it to where anybody can use their familiar console with your equipment, and that's pretty incredible. So where can everybody go to find out the latest and greatest from Grass Valley? Where can they go to order this product to become part of the chain?
GrassValley.com obviously is the waypoint on that. If you want to talk to anybody, you want to find somebody, hit up that website. I'm Robert Erickson. My email address is literally robert.erickson@grassvalley.com.
Okay.
You can always hit me up on there. But anywhere in the United States, if you go on the website, they can tell you where to find somebody locally. And if for any reason anybody has a problem, literally email me personally and we'll take care of it.
Great. Well, Robert, thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you to Grass Valley for always doing what they've done for the industry for years, which is just putting out great products. So stay tuned for more from the Texas Association of Broadcasters trade show right after this. We are here with John Landman, the Vice President of Sales